Good morning, students. Today we will study the poem from your English literature, that is Midnight Wood. It is on page 41. So students, what do you understand by this Midnight Wood? So midnight means night, middle of the night, that is around 12 o'clock at night, and wood means forest. So, before we begin our poem, let us first talk about the poet, that is Raymond Wilson. So, this poem is written by Raymond Wilson. So, who is Raymond Wilson? He was a British literary scholar, author, and academic. Throughout his career, he was associated with University College London. He was born on 12th November 1874 and died in the year 1942 on 23rd April. He was educated at University College London and he was awarded James Tate Black Memorial Prize biography. Okay, so now let us talk about the poem. How do you think it feels to be all alone in a wood in the dead of night? Read on. So students, here the poet is asking us whether we would be afraid or not in the dark night. And I think most of us are afraid of dark, right? Dark means with no light or very little light. And here in this poem, it is speaking about not only the dark, but also dark in the forest, deep dark in the forest. So let's read and learn about this poem, what the writer wants to tell us. So let's see the first stanza. Dark in the wood, the shadows tire. What do you see? Mist and moonlight, star and cloud, hunchback, shapes that creep and crowd from tree to tree. So students, here the poet tells us what all we see in the night, in the dark. So dark in the wood, the shadows tire. Shadows means a dark shape on a surface that is caused by something being between the light and that surface. And star means to move or make somebody or something to move slightly. So here the shadows move. And the poet asks us, what do you see? Now let's see what are those. Now we see deep in the woods at midnight, mist, moonlight, stars, clouds, and a hunchback shadows fleeting from tree to tree. Here creep means to move very quietly and carefully so that nobody will notice of you. And then the hunchback means a hunchback is a person with a back that sticks out in a large lump. Here the animals, you can see in the picture there is an elephant which looks like a hunchback. And the meaning of the mist, it is a cloud of tiny drops of water hanging just above the ground. Mist is not as thick as fog, but it's still difficult to see through. Now let's read the second stanza. Dark in the wood, a thin wind calls. What do you hear? Frond and fern and clutching grass snigger at you as you pass, whispering fear. So students, here the poet is asking us, what all do we hear from the woods? And also tells us that in the woods at midnight, The only thing we can hear is a light wind blowing and the fronds, ferns, and grass rustling in the wind, and as you brush past them. To hear the word frond and fern means plants and leaves, and the clutching means holding tightly. The word snigger means laugh quietly in a disrespectful way. So students, what all can we hear here in this stanza? In the midnight, the only thing we can hear is the light blowing and the plants and leaves and the grass rustling in the wind. And they are laughing at you as you pass them. And the word whispering, it means to speak quietly or softly in the ear of someone so that others can't hear what you are saying. So now let us read the third stanza. Dark in the wood, a river flows. What does it hide? Otter, water rat, old can, bones of fish and bones of men drift in its tide. Now the word otter means a small animal that has 4 webbed feet, a small tail, and a thick brown fur. So otter is a small animal. So in the woods there is a river. The river hides many things we can't see, such as otters, water rats, old tin cans, bones of fish, and bones of a man. Now let's see the last stanza. Dark in the wood, the owlets streaks. What do they cry? Choose between the wood and river. Who comes here is lost forever and must die. By Raymond Wilson. Now here the word owlets means baby owls. So in the woods, in the dead of night, lone owl babies call. What they cry sounds like a warning. Whether you choose the wood or the river, whoever comes in these woods are lost forever and may die. So I think it is a warning. The whole full story is a warning. Enter the woods at midnight and be lost forever. So students, now we have completed the poem. Let us now discuss the questions and answers. Now look at the first question. Did you notice that each of the 4 stanzas in the poem describes one group of things that might make us afraid when we are alone in a wood at night? Can you list them? So number A, the things we see. The answer is the things what we see is in the wood are shadows, mists, moonlight, stars, cloud, and hunchback shapes. Number B, the sounds we hear. The sounds we hear in the woods are that of the thin wind, frond, fern, and clutching grass. And the third thing, the things the river hides, that is number C, are the otter, water rat, old can, bones of fish, and bones of men. And number D, the threats we face. The threats we face in the woods are of getting lost and dying. Now come to question number 2. What do these phrases mean? Hunchback shapes. It means animals with backs that stick out in a large lump. Number B, clutching grass. It means grass that is holding tightly. Now come to question number 3. Look at the stanza 3. Which of the objects mentioned would you normally not accept to see in a river? The answer is the objects that are not expected to be found in a river are old cans and bones of men. These objects find their way to the river because of the enhanced level of water pollution in the modern times, or as a result of men who ventured into the forest but were killed by wild animals. Now come to question number 4. If you believe what the outlets are actually saying, would you want to go to the wood? The answer is no, I wouldn't have wanted to go to the woods because the shriek of the owlets sounds ominous. They cry to warn one not to enter the woods because they might get lost and die. Now come to question number 5. Why do you think the poet repeats the phrase dark in the wood several times? So the answer to this question is the poet repeats the phrase dark in the wood several times to heighten the mood of apprehension in the poem. It also helps to create the atmosphere of the woods as an unfavorable place for men who might not find it easy to find their way in and out of it again, or may even die. So now come to question number 6. Are the sounds and sights described in the poem frightening in themselves? Does darkness have something to do with the ways we feel in a wood at night? So the answer to this question is yes. The sounds and sights described in the poem create a dark mood and are frightening. The phrase clutching grass nigger at you as you pass and hunchback shapes create a deep impression on the reader's mind. Since woods hardly receive sunlight due to the canopy of tree leaves, it may be dark even during the day. However, it can be very frightening in the woods at night when it would be pitch black and one cannot see anything clearly. Now, darkness creates a scary mood and can augment a person's fear, especially in a forlorn place like the woods. Now, let's see the 7th question. If you found yourself all alone in a wood at midnight, would you be frightened? So the answer is yes, I would be frightened if I were all alone in a wood at midnight. So students, that's all for today's class. We have done the poem plus the questions and answers. And the written questions and answers, I will send it to you in the WhatsApp group. That's all. Thank you.